I went over to Chirag's house after school and Raleigh was there too. I admit, he was kinda nice hanging out with them, pretending everything was normal, when it really wasn't. But then, after a while, Chirag's dad told us to put on the news. Apparently, President Trump had an announcement about the bombings. He said that they traced the bombings to an obscure Middle Eastern terrorist group and that the army was focusing on how to attack them. I figured it was a good thing that we knew who had attacked the country because now we could get back at them for it. But for some reason, Chirag and his parents look worried. That was weird, but I forgot about it. When I left, I noticed that it felt odd, quieter somehow, even though there was so much going on. I feel like there was something I wasn't hearing that I usually would be. March 20th, 2018. When I walked to school this morning, I wasn't expecting it to be anything but a normal day. At least normal for post-atom bombing America. The refugees were still camped out in the woods, and I heard some of the Mingo kids have been talking with them. Boy, would that be a strange conversation. The police department, although understaffed, was functioning again. And so were the garbage trucks, so the town was a lot safer and a lot cleaner now. I heard those guys are getting paid next to nothing because their salary come from the city, which has been goddamn nuked, so they're basically volunteering. And I gotta admit, now those guys right there, the real heroes. And there was still that eerie sense of quiet. Anyway, my day changed when I got to school. After the first period, where the history teacher just put on Braveheart to cheer us up, I ran into Chirag and started talking to him for a while about the bombings. Chirag mentioned that they found the terrorist group in Tajikistan, a splinter group of the Taliban which had somehow obtained nuclear weapons and detonated them by hiding them inside vans which were parked in the cities. The US was about to launch an attack on the group with the help of several countries, including Tajikistan itself. Apparently, Chirag's dad, who worked at the Pentagon, managed to convince one of the top generals not to attack North Korea, who they thought was responsible. I gotta say, it's pretty cool that my classmate's dad prevented World War III. I gotta say though, I wasn't happy that we had to go back to the Middle East for another war, mostly because I knew I'd have to learn about it in history, and believe me, the curriculum at Westmore is already long enough as it is now. I was about to ask Chirag if his dad had ever met Donald Trump when another kid came up to Chirag. I don't know his name, but I recognize him as one of the football team jocks. He was yelling at Chirag like he'd kill his family and called him a bunch of things that were too terrible for me to write down, but the gist of it was basically this: terrorist! He called him some more things which I'm not going to write and walked away. I helped Chirag to his feet, but for some reason, although he was angry, he didn't look all that surprised. He said the same thing had happened to his dad the other day, and that he knew ever since it was announced that the terrorists were Arabic, that this would happen. Well, I thought that was pretty dumb because Chirag isn't Arabic for one thing, and for another thing, his dad is a hero to the country. He should be receiving medals for his service, but someone felt the need to call him a terrorist. That's when Chirag said something that changed my whole outlook on the bombings. These people don't want the facts. They want a scapegoat, someone to blame. My dad and I looked the part to them. When people are scared, they try to make themselves seem safe by fighting the enemy. And that usually means people who don't look like them. You may think it's just a few people, but just wait. Soon it will be the government, trying to make it seem like they're making the country safer. I admit, I never thought about it like that, but Chirag couldn't be right? Maybe a few racists around the school, I know there's plenty, but not the government of the United States, surely. Besides, didn't Dr. King get rid of racism? This is why we encourage teachers to teach Black history in schools, so no one ends up as naive as Greg. April 1st, 2018. Today was my birthday. I'm officially 14. Hard to believe that next year I'll be in high school. It's weird. I imagine going to high school in the old America, where there was no worries on our minds, no looming threats, no nuclear bombings, no dead parents. But of course, that's not what's happening. Trump put it best at the State of the Union. This is a new age in our history, an atomic age. If I ever do that again, someone, anyone, please fucking slap me. That shook me up a bit when I heard it, but I guess he's right. I had a few friends over for my birthday, but at the end of the day, I realized that life was different in almost every way imaginable. The stock markets reopened today for the first time, and understandably it took a huge nosedive. I heard Rowley's dad is losing a lot of money over it. He is also an architect, and tons of his buildings got destroyed by the bombs, so his business is losing a lot of money and are laying off nearly everybody. Meanwhile, the government is going to send in crews to the bomb sites for the first time to try and clear the radiation. Apparently, it's a part of a plan called Operation Reconstruction to build back all the cities. Yeah, all I can say is it better work because things here aren't so great. Travel between different areas of the state is limited, and you can't even go 2 countries over. Since the city is still gone, supplies are being airlifted in. At the moment, we have as much food as we did before, so we're pretty okay. The refugees aren't in such good shape though. I heard a rumor that the government is giving them much less food than they're giving us, and that some of them are starving. Then again, my source for this isn't the most reliable. Well yeah, no shit, you're listening to Albert Sandy. You're using him as a source. Glad it took you 3 years to realize that he's not the most reliable. Meanwhile, lots of refugees are still living in the woods or in the park. I walked by the park on the way to Chirag's house last week, and it looks like the refugees and the Mingos are helping each other out with food and water. Speaking of the refugees, Mom came to us at lunch yesterday with an announcement. At first I thought she was going to get on our case about leaving the toilet seat up or something, but then she said something that surprised both of us. Mom got a job. That's right, kid, she's no longer a slave to the kitchen, she's now a slave to the government. Definitely much better. She was still a little shaken up about Dad, but she pulled herself back together and told us that since Dad died, she would have to leave her job at the newspaper to start working at the survivor containment facility. Apparently, they need volunteers to feed the refugees, clean the place, and other stuff. Mom told us she is going to be teaching the kids of the refugees, and that she's even going to start a Reading is Fun club for them. I gotta say, it's a good thing she's doing this instead of the newspaper because honestly, there's only so much you can write about nowadays. How to teach your child about nuclear fallout. Ever since the recent atomic bombings, my 5-year-old has been bursting with questions. Literally, why? Literally, who would put this here? May 15th, 2018. It's been about a month since Mom started working with the refugees. Usually she'd pick us up from school after the bombings because she didn't want us walking alone, but she was working longer and longer hours every day. So now it was back to walking with Rowley. Anyway, today was a strange day for 2 reasons. I was walking home with Rowley when we decided to take the shortcut through the woods behind the school. Now, normally I avoid these woods because they're miles wide and most of them have really confusing trails, but it was still much better than having to pass Fregley. Wanna see my mucus museum? You know, Fregley, even after the bombings, you still are the most horrendous and atrocious thing to look at or witness, not too dissimilar to watching my parents bang each other. Yeah, you're an ugly sight to look at, bro, and it's tiring hearing you, so can you please fuck on out of here? Goddamn, leave me alone, stop talking to me. Anyway, Rowley started walking through the woods. We eventually got to a clearing where we stopped for a break. That's when we heard voices in the trees. At first I thought we stumbled into one of Grandpa's Vietnam War memories, but a minute later we heard rustling in the bushes. The rustling was getting louder and louder. You know, when you're so scared you can't even run? That's how I felt. I was paralyzed, and so was Rowley. Whoever or whatever was coming for us wasn't slowing down. I picked up a stick to defend myself, but then I saw who it was. It was a family of refugees. I thought they must have been from the group that allied themselves with the Mingos. But last I heard, they stayed away from the part of the forest near the school, so I figured they must have been from the SCF. They didn't say anything to us, but somehow we both understood each other. They ran past us down a path to the left. A minute later, a man in an army uniform came running after them. Rowley and I pointed them in the opposite direction. What have I done? For all I knew, I just aided fugitives or criminals. Besides, why would they escape from the only place where they were guaranteed food and shelter? But I knew there was more to it than that. I just felt that I had to do it. The world is a confusing place right now, and when I got home, it became even more confusing. I'm joining the army. You know, man, I can see that somebody's gonna die in this. I just can't figure out who. I don't know what to say. Roderick said that he and his bandmates felt so horrified by the bombings that they wanted to go to Tajikistan to fight the terrorists. I never figured Loaded Diaper would be patriotic enough to put their lives at stake for America, but I guess nothing surprises me anymore. They'd be leaving this June for Fort Jacobs, where they'd train and be shipped out to Tajikistan, hopefully. Mom wasn't sure. She already lost a husband after the bombings, and she didn't want to lose a son too. But from what I know about Roderick, the army wasn't going to let him go near the front lines in Tajikistan anytime soon. Roderick and I went outside for a bit after that. He told me everything he had read about the army, and what he told me sounded pretty cool. Until I realized his idea of the army was based almost entirely off Vietnam movies. Good morning, Tajikistan! I'm sorry, I just had to. You know, somehow I have a feeling that even if they give him a desk job, he'll still manage to get himself killed. I swung by Chirag's house later and we hanged out a bit with Rowley. I admit this week has been crazy. I just hope life gets back to normal soon. Like Roderick never joined the army, like Dad never died, like the bombs never went off. That'd be nice. July 2018. It's been a while since I've wrote in this thing, huh? I haven't been busy or anything, I just forgot. It's been a slow few months. Mom's been working day and night at the SCF and she looks more tired every day. I finished middle school last month and boy, does it feel good to be out of that place. I gotta say, I don't see how high school could be any worse. The world outside seems less quiet, planes are flying again in parts of the state, cars are on the highway again, but it still feels wrong. Like the bombings took away a part of our lives. Nothing feels the same anymore. Roderick was also shipped out to Tajikistan recently, and I've been getting letters from him every week. Here's one. Hey Greg, how's life? Mine's pretty good. For the war zone, Tajikistan is pretty nice. There's lots of mountains and rivers, and my buddy Steve and I went on a hike and took some nice pictures. The army dudes, even the Tajik guys, think it's cool that we're in a band and we even showed them Exploded Diaper. I haven't seen any action yet, and at the moment we're just walking through the country trying to spot any terrorists. A couple guys got into a fight with some of them over in the south part of the country, but we beat them. I'm stationed in Dushanbe, the capital city. There's some nice buildings here and the food is great. These people are really poor though. I thought we had it bad in America, but most of these guys can't even afford food. I'll be home soon enough, Greg. Our operations are pretty simple, and my general think we'll have beat the terrorists by New Year's. Roderick. September 23rd, 2018. So yeah, I started high school this much, and let me tell you, all those movies lied to me. I thought there would be groups of jocks, nerds, geeks, and girls and pretentious jerks. Turns out, they're all pretentious jerks. Rowley and I are in the same class, so it could be worse. Of course, some things are different than a normal school year. The district announced a bunch of new safety precautions for security reasons. I get that they're nervous after the bombings, but it's not like Albert has a nuke in his bag. When I got home today, Mom was sitting down. She had a day off from the SCF for the first time this week, and she looked pretty upset. I asked her what was wrong, and at first she just sighed and said She was just tired like she did when I asked her the same thing yesterday, but then suddenly she started talking quickly. She started saying that the building was filled over capacity, that guards were hoarding foods, and that the government was giving some of the rations for the refugees to the citizens of Plainview, even though we have plenty already. She said that the refugees were like prisoners and that they were forced to do unpaid labor, even little children. At least a dozen had died from a lack of medicine and food, and she was surprised that there hasn't been a rebellion yet. At first, I thought that was kind of ridiculous. Why would the United States do that to anyone? But then I got thinking, and I figured that this sort of stuff has happened before, but not in this country. I asked Mom if there was anything she could do, but she just sighed and said that none of the guards would listen to reason, and that the longer they were in charge, the more authoritarian they became. I had to go for a walk to clear my head after that. I honestly couldn't believe something like this was happening in America in 2018, but nothing this year feels real. I met up with Rolly afterwards to do some homework, but none of us could concentrate. We eventually turned on the TV to see what was going on in Tajikistan. Apparently, it was revealed that the Uzbek and Turkmen governments were caught sheltering terrorists, and NATO was considering an invasion of them. I also got another letter from Roderick. Hey Greg, what's up? I had my first mission today. The general sent my group to chase some terrorists out of a cave they were using as a base, but they got away. There was a lot of shooting and a few of our guys were shot. They might be dead. It's a lot scarier than how it is on TV. It's louder, and I felt bad having to see my fellow soldiers die. Apparently, the terrorists are fleeing to Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan to get away. The general says we might have to invade the countries to get the terrorists. I'm a little worried, but I want to do this. For Dad. They need to pay for killing him and all those other people. See you. Roger Kefley. January 2019. I spent another long night playing Twisted Wizard Deluxe at Rowley's house today. His mom was out volunteering at the airlift drop-off location delivering food to people's houses, and his dad had work to do in another town building another SCF. I admit, I feel kinda jealous of him. Even though it's been 11 months since the bombings, we're still not allowed to leave our county. I just realized it's been like 4 months since I've wrote in this. I haven't been busy or anything. I just didn't remember to. Anyway, the night with Rowley was fun, and we played until 11 p.m., which was a first for Rowley. We went over to my house afterwards and stayed there for a bit. That's when Mom got home, and she wasn't alone. It took me a while to recognize her, but then I realized it was the girl Rowley and I ran into in the woods. I asked Mom what she was doing here. Apparently, while working at the SCF, she saw this girl trying to escape with her family. She tried to help them, but the army captured her dad and brother. Thankfully, they didn't notice Mom or the girl. Mom sat down for a while, explaining the situation to me, and eventually went upstairs to sleep, saying she had a long day tomorrow. The girl and I got to talking, and it turns out her name is Chloe. She's a freshman like me, and she was visiting her uncle in Kingsville when the bomb exploded and destroyed her home. After that, she came to the SCF with her dad and brother.
Thanks for watching. Yeah, so a couple things I have to say before I go. First thing, we made it to 6,000 subscribers, yay! But on a serious note, we made it to 6K, and I'm pretty glad about it. My next goal I set was 10,000 subscribers. Hopefully I can accomplish that by the end of the year. If not the end of the year, then definitely by early next year. Second thing, I started a new channel. I'm currently working on the welcome video, which will tell you everything you need to know about the channel and what it's gonna be about. Other thing, the Crime Files episode will be released. Yeah, I'm not really too sure. Probably, I don't know, more likely next 2 days. Hopefully by then. Yeah, more Diary of a Wimpy Kid videos, more icebergs, more videos on this channel to come. They might be popping out slowly, but trust me, I'm working as fast as I can on them. Alright, I think that's all I have to say. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.